Well, here we are in Florida. Not really been doing a whole lot, just hanging out mostly. So I put together a little video about our solar and battery and stuff that's been working really great. We like it. It's really changed the way we boondock, the way we travel. So I'll put together a little video. I'm not an expert. I don't do install videos because there's too much cussing involved. So, oh look, I'll show you these real quick. We got a magnet shade we installed. See how it's like magnets. Hold it down. Really cools it off in there. It's really nice. We installed that ourselves. But again, I didn't make a video because there's a lot of cussing involved. Anyway, I'll show you what the solar thing does. And if you have any questions, you're gonna have to YouTube it because I don't know the answer.
I'll try to do better with my cussing.
Yeah, there's the cusser right here. Okay, let's talk about our solar panels up on the roof here for a minute. I'll show you what we got. Okay, if you look, we have 8 of these larger panels right here. Those are 215 watts a piece. And then we have 4 of the smaller panels right here. So we have them kind of set up in 2 separate arrays, and I'll explain that in a minute. But what we do is for the charge controllers, all 4 of these little ones, which are 100 watt Renogy's, these 4 of them that are 100 watts a piece, are all tied together. Those all go to one smaller solar charge controller. The other ones, the other 8, we have a string of 4 right there. We have a string of 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 all act as one unit. It's series, parallel series. I don't know the difference. But basically it's those 4 in the front, and then these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, are all another group, and then those 2 groups of larger panels go into being one line that goes down to a large solar charge controller. So I have 2 arrays. One is a 400 watt array with the 4 little ones, and the other one is a 1700 watt array. Altogether, we have about 2100 watts of solar panels on the roof. About really all we can fit up here. Okay, batteries. We have we have 10 batteries that are 24 volt batteries at 500 amp hours total. So 500 amp hours at 24 volts, you do the math conversion, it's 1000 amp hours at 12 volts. Just about everybody, when they talk about RV batteries, talks in 12 volts as far as amp hours. It's just the common language. So to make it easier, I always just tell people we have 1000 amp hours battery, even though technically it's a 24 volt system and it went 500 amp hours, but same thing. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, literally. Okay, that's batteries. Okay, while we're under here, we're gonna look at a couple of components that we got. If you look at this big blue box right here, this is a 5000 watt inverter. This is what gives us all of our AC power. This box converts all that 24 volt battery juice into usable power. There's a couple of little blue boxes you see back there. Those are basically distribution bars. There is a DC to DC converter. What that does, a DC to DC converter converts 24 volts from the battery into 12 volts for everything else in here that's a 12 volt system. That handles all of our 12 volt stuff with that converter. This is the bigger solar charge controller for the 1700 watt system, and this over here is the smaller one for the 400 watt system. That's a breaker to shut off the solar panels. There's a lot of little stuff. Then some of it I don't even know what it is. That though I know is a automatic gen starter. This is a main communications port right here. That's what sends out the signal, the Bluetooth signal, and the internet signal, so that all of our stuff can be looked at on the internet and through our Bluetooth devices and through our screen on the inside. So there's a few of the things that are on the inside. Again, this is a very simplified version of what we have here. It's a lot more complicated than it sounds. All right, one of the, I won't say most important, but one of the, this is where, this screen right here is where you can really see what the system is doing and at what time. I turned on the air conditioner here. So if you look at this screen, this is the only screen that is actually hardwired into the communications. So if your internet goes down, Bluetooth, all that stuff, you can still come here and do all your changes. If you look here, we have AC load. I turned on the air conditioner, so we got about 1500 watts of AC load. The solar, this is how much solar is coming in. 700, 800, 900. It'll vary. Like I said, this, I just turned off power coming into the motorhome from the pedestal, so there is no power coming into the pedestal right here. This is our batteries. We're at 99%, 26.5 volts, and you can see it's taken 800 watts from the batteries and adding that to the 1000 watts from the solar to make our 1500. And this is our DC power, lights, controllers, water pump, things like that, about 200 watts. So this kind of shows you, and then this is the inverter in the middle, the 5000 watt inverter, which kind of controls where the power goes, what goes to where. So you can see this right here, solar is coming up. The solar is going directly through the inverter and helping with the AC loads. And then here, the battery is assisting. It's assisting with that. This controller, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. As you can bring up a menu, and here's where there's all kinds of settings. Too much for me to explain. I only know about how to use about 3% of all this stuff in here. But you can go in here and determine how long you want this to stay on, your internet settings, your Bluetooth settings. It tells you the 400 watt array is bringing in 123 watts. The 1700 watt array is bringing in about 320. So you can see what's bringing in where, how much the batteries are. This is also where you can set up your automatic generator start. If I go into settings, you can see there's firmware, remote console, there's all kinds of stuff in here. There's the internet. So the automatic generator start stop, you can set all of this. Right now I have it set to go 90 minutes. If it does start, it'll run for 90 minutes. These are my quiet hours, and under the conditions I have just the battery state of charge, SOC, enabled. And all this, you can do battery current, AC loads, when you want your generator to start. Right now the generator will start when it gets lower than 20% or 15 during quiet hours. And then of course here's when it stops, and you can turn that on and off. So this is an automatic generator start compared to depending on where your batteries are. Also on here, as you see right here, I can start the generator from here, right here, by pushing that button. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want the generator to run right now. There's a lot of pages here. You'll notice right now that I have the AC load is off right here, from the power pedestal. I can set that if I go to inverter. Right here is my input current limit. Right now I have it set at 29 amps. That's because I don't want to blow a breaker. So if we were at one park where we were plugged into a 15 amp, just a regular 110 extension cord. I can bring this down to 15 amps, 20 amps, whatever I want to set it at, and then it will only draw that much from the pedestal up here. That way I can plug into 110 power, still run 2 air conditioners, because it'll take up to 15 amps here, and then take the rest from the batteries to compensate for the AC load. So the batteries will assist it. And then when we were at that one park, we would run our air conditioners during the day, and then at night we could shut off the air conditioners, and even just that little 110 15 amp cord would recharge all the batteries at night. And I'll show you here. I'm gonna turn the power back on at the pedestal. I have it on inverter only. So if I switch this to on, hold on 1 second, I'm gonna shut off the air conditioners. It's best if you don't switch this while you're under a heavy load. So we're going to go to on, go back to them pages, and you'll see it's going to pop on, and you'll see here we're getting power from the grid now, which means it's going to start bulk charging our batteries. Then I can turn the ACs back on. And it'll take those a few minutes to come back on. They got soft starts on them, so it takes a few minutes. They ramp up slowly so as not to shock the system. The solar panels right here, the charge controllers, eventually, no matter how much solar there is, if the batteries start to get topped off, this will go down to 0. It will basically stop bringing in solar power once it no longer needs it. And then the batteries will just float charge off of the grid. If we were fully charged, it would actually float charge from the solar panels too. So this is the only, you can do all kinds of settings, everything right from here. It's an amazing little communications box, and probably the primary way we check our stuff and make adjustments. But everything on here can actually be done remotely through our phones, laptop, and tablet. I can actually monitor this on the tablet up front while I'm driving, so I can see how much solar is coming in, where our batteries are at. I can check the AC loads remotely to see if the air conditioners are coming on while we're gone, making sure the dog and the cat are okay. So this is our main control panel, even though all of this you can actually do over the internet. I'll show you that more later. See, we're bringing in almost 3,000 off the grid. We're going to bulk charge up to 28.8 on our voltage. Remember, it's a 24 volt system. And here our ACs are coming on. We'll see that. Alright, that's that part. One of the things I like about our solar and battery system is the information that it gives you. This is the view from the laptop over the internet, but you can get this information. I can have it on my phone, tablet, wherever, and anywhere. I can be 300 miles away and get on here and see all this information. We are hooked up to shore power, but I shut that off just to run on batteries alone, so that the solar power right here would kick on. If your batteries are fully charged and you've got an outside power source, these will shut down on their own. So if you look at some of this information, it shows we have no AC input. We did have some right here, but then I shut it off. This is our inverter. We have an AC running, so it's got a 1500 watt load here. Battery's at 98%. It's pulling 1100 from the batteries and about 650 from the sun. DC power about 300. That's water power, lights, stuff like that. But what's cool is if you look here, time to go, given its current conditions, we can go 10, almost 11 hours running this AC all the time, and with this much sunlight. It'll get more sunlight, this will go up, so this calculation is constantly changing, but it gives you a rough idea of what's going on. Your battery temperature, The current you're pulling, 44 amps at 26 volts. So this is a little bit of that, but if you scroll down, you also have all of this historical data. This is a system overview. It's just, and I only know about 3.5% of all there is to know here. But you can go by the week. This week so far, we've produced 67 kilowatt hours from the grid. The sun has produced 4.2 kilowatt hours, and we've consumed 55 kilowatt hours so far this week. So you see all this, and you can break this down by the week, the month, the day. It just goes back forever. Also from here, I can go to the advanced section, which I don't understand a lot of this, but I'll show you. It shows lots of cool blue lines that go squigglies. It has your battery and watts and the time for that. There's a lot of real technical data, the voltage, current, what those are all doing and have done in the past. Like, so you go back quite a ways with this. It's just an amazing amount of information that if you knew what you're doing. This is how much sunlight we've gotten yielded through time. And like I said, this is just the easiest way to film it is with the computer here. But also, that's your advanced, you got your dashboard. But here's another cool thing is remote console. When I turn this on, this is the actual console that we have on the wall, and we can adjust. So for example, if we see it over here, it's on the wall there, doing its thing. If I were to take this and scroll that way, or bring up the menu, let's say I bring up the menu. Click on the menu. The one on the wall brings up the menu. So whatever I'm doing here remotely shows up just like that on the wall. Our installer has access to this, and there's been times where I've looked back and seen this thing scrolling through, and I'm like, oh, he's just scrolling through, checking our settings and making sure everything's working right. So this is kind of neat. It also allows you to, if I go back to pages, I can remotely, if I move this over, remote console. With the remote console, I also can, and so you can do this on the phone, your tablet, whatever. You can, let me bring this up, show you. I could start the generator from here. From here I could actually start the generator and shut the generator off. So if I saw that it was getting too hot in here, or the batteries were getting low and weren't hooked up to power, and I needed to start the ACs, I could just remote start this from half a country away, whole country away. So that's kind of cool. That's the remote console. So that's about it as far as what I know. Here's the real-time thing. That's about it as far as what I know for this battery solar power installation system, and it works great. We can there's so many things we can do with this. There's so many options and settings and things like that. But that's it for this little tour.